Does the existence of suffering and the existence of evil disprove the existence of God? And the answer is no. Number one, this question is incorrect and it is incorrectly put. And the answer to this incorrect question is no. It proves the existence of the devil, an evil devil. And that existence proves the existence of God. I like to put it this way. Does the existence of happiness and the existence of love disprove the existence of the devil? And the answer again to this incorrect question is no. It proves the existence of God, and that existence now proves the existence of the devil. So in the book of John 10:10, Jesus says this about the devil. He says, the thief comes only but to steal, kill, and destroy. So he steals your joy. He steals the health of people and children alike with things like cancer, heart diseases. He causes children to die out of hunger strikes and floods. He causes earthquakes and tsunamis to destroy innocent families. Now, I know some of you might ask, is the devil really that powerful? And the answer again is no, he's not that powerful. That evil devil or the devil is only as powerful as your ignorance of God. The devil is only as powerful as your lack of knowledge of God, and is as powerless as your immense knowledge of God. So every time you choose to separate yourself from God, the devil receives you with open arms. Life is just as a coin. Life has only two sides. You can either choose to be good or evil. There is no middle ground. And equally, you can either choose the side of God or the side of the devil. There is no middle ground. Life is built as a coin. You choose your side. Just the same as we choose every day to either be good or evil. We choose either to show love or enmity to our neighbors and friends and families. And because people have chosen to separate themselves from God, now the devil has that full access. The only way the devil obtains this full access to destroy the lives of people and families is because people and families have chosen to separate themselves from God. And every time you separate yourself from God, I've mentioned, the devil now has full access to destroy you, to kill you, to steal from you. This is now what manifests the tsunamis and the earthquakes to destroy people. Because though they are innocent to how they live and they abide by laws, but they have chosen to separate themselves from God, that ultimately puts you in the realm of the devil. Because again, as I have stated, there is only good and evil. There is no middle ground. You can either be good or bad. You can either show love or enmity. There is no other middle ground you can stand in. So every time you see tsunamis and earthquakes happening to innocent families, innocent people, it is actually because they have chosen to separate themselves from God. And these things now occur by the hands of the devil, not God. I have listened to some debates happening between Christians and atheists, and when they were debating, some atheists asked a question: if there's a just God, why do suffering happen? Why do suffering happen if there's a just God? And some Christians, out of their own understanding, they replied with this statement: suffering exists to test faith. True, but that doesn't and will never apply to unbelievers. The suffering of an unbeliever happens to unbelievers because they have chosen to separate themselves from God, or they have also chosen to resist God or live in the ignorance of God. Is the reason why that kind of suffering finds them, and is the reason why they go through suffering. Now, that is different from believers. For believers, the storms that happen in a believer's life happens to test the level of conviction that they have, the level of faith that they have. How much do they really trust God? And with time, yes, time, a creation of God, because God doesn't live in time. Storms come and they pass in the life of a believer with time. But the weak Christian, now with time, is now evolved to become a stronger Christian with stronger foundation, stronger trust, stronger belief, stronger faith in God. But that happens with time. Time is an interesting subject that we are going to cover because time is also a measure of redemption. But I'm going to discuss that on a later date. That question that says that suffering happens because we have free will. Both believers and unbelievers all have free will. And because they have free will, they choose every day whether to do good or evil, whether to love or hate, whether to align with God or align with the devil, knowingly or unknowingly. What I mean by knowingly or unknowingly is they can choose to seek for that understanding or not. Someone can choose to live in darkness and not even care to have light. It's different for someone who lives in darkness but is interested in knowing how to obtain light. So when I say knowingly or unknowingly, people can actually do good knowingly or unknowingly. You can choose to help someone knowingly. You can also do an action that will be good to someone else without your knowing. You can do an action that is evil but not know that you are doing evil. So when I say knowingly and unknowingly, I reference ignorance. And just because you're a Christian doesn't stop you from doing evil. And just because you're an atheist or an unbeliever doesn't stop you from doing good and showing love. But a Christian who does evil is not different from an unbeliever. An atheist or an unbeliever who does good is not different from a Christian. This is the reason why we have atheists and unbelievers who do a lot of good, and that good, it makes them live like Christians, because those are the moral codes of Christians. We live by doing good, by portraying love. So every time atheists and unbelievers do this, they only take from what we do. They behave more like Christians. And every time Christians do evil and show enmity, they behave more like unbelievers. Now, free will comes from a loving God. The question of free will is a question that has been greatly debated. The free will comes from a loving God. Why does it come from a loving God? And why do we have free will? Because when you force someone to love you, that is no longer called love. It is called control. And control is as a consequence of fear. Fear to lose someone you love, fear for rejection, fear of love falling apart, fear of separation. And these attributes are not and can never be found in God. That is the reason why God gave man free will, because control and fear is not found in God, but love and mercy is found in God. And because there is love, there is free will to choose what you really want. That is the definition of free will. To choose which side, to choose what to do, whether to show good, whether to show evil, whether to love, whether to portray enmity. The devil rules seeking control because he's constantly in fear. Fear to lose to love because he has none. Fear to lose to forgiveness because he has none. Fear to lose to life because he has none. So if you are still among those who still choose to say, I'm an atheist, I'm an unbeliever, but I do good every day, at least I try to do good every day. So I'll ask you this question and leave you with this question so that you guys can tell me an answer to this question. Does the existence of happiness and love in the world disprove the existence of the devil? Does the existence of happiness and love in the world disprove the existence of evil?